This is like a part 3. But again, the way this is working out, part 1 is right there about the newborn, the new moon person. Part 2 is more about how the personality of the person is to the world. Now we're going into part 3. Part 3, we're going to dig a little deeper. Welcome to Archangel Revelations and Prophecies. 444, seen this heard on YouTube. Just going into a birth natal chart. A person requested that we analyze it, and it just took us from the gate. It took us into a lot of things. But now we're really going to go a little bit deeper. So let's just say that the 12th house is really something to go into. So we are. Now remember, the 12th house is ruled by Pisces, the water sign. Remember, Aries is a fire sign. Pisces is a water sign, and it's ruled by planet Neptune. Aries is ruled by planet Mars. So that was the first house. 12th house, and now Neptune is called the deceiver. And really, your 12th house, well, we'll get into it. I was just going to explain it, but I'd rather read it first. And then we'll explain it. But you have to be careful of Neptune, because Neptune is the deceiver. And how he deceives you, he uses idealism. See, they said this person tends to just jump right in and go with feelings and stuff like that. But you have to be careful, because those are the type of people that can be easily deceived. So you just have to be very careful. And that's why when they're doing, they're giving you like Aries energy, like, oh, I'm gonna just dive right in. But you're being given also Taurus, who says, hey, let's slow this down and take our time. What's the rush? If this is really deal, see, that's the value talking. That's the value talking, because Taurus, when Taurus is acting correctly, what's the value in all of this? And if you listen, you hear me say that a lot, because Taurus is in my 12th house. Because I grew up, I'm not a young guy no more. So a lot of stuff that I would have dived into just because of whatever. Now I'm looking at, what am I getting out of this? And I'm looking at, is it really going to be worth it? Am I sending myself back to a hell situation that took me decades to get out of? So that's when you begin to think wisely, take your time more. And a lot of times you realize if it's really worth something, then what's the rush? Because that's the biggest trick of the deceiver. And even a magician card can be somewhat of a deceiver, that Mercury energy. But the deceiver is going to try to, hey, act now. Oh, no, you need to act now. Oh, hurry up, because somebody else, oh, yeah. So they don't want you to think. They just want you to go, come on, just do it. Act now. And so a wise person begins to say, wow, why is it so intense on doing it now? And then they begin to say, nah, I think I'm going to slow down and look at this a little bit differently. So what we'll do first is talk about the 12th house, but it's much, much more. And again, we still haven't gotten any depth of a understanding. Because see, it wasn't a coincidence that you were born right at the new moon. Now, just give me a moment, because I picked up this information, and now it looks like something is missing. So I got to go back, because I'm sure that window is still not open. So let me find it again. All right. Give me a moment. All right, we got it. The 12th house is associated with mysticism. Now remember, you're talking about planet Neptune as well as the zodiac sign Pisces, and this is also where you get your Christianity from and other things as well. So the 12th house is associated with mysticism, self-undoing, and hidden enemies. And you could also say spirituality as well. Traditional astrology called this house a bad spirit, and it is the joy of Saturn. It's kind of funny they said that. I've never heard it was called the joy of Saturn. That's interesting. William Lilly says of the 12th house, it has signification of private enemies, witches, great cattle, horses, oxen, elephants, sorrow, tribulation, imprisonments, all manner of affliction, self-undoing, and of such men as maliciously undermine their neighbors or inform secretly against them. Now, if y'all didn't hear me, inform secretly against them is them rat niggas. Rats! Tattletale asses. The dudes that be washing other dudes' drawers in prison. Well, your 12th house is about, well, our astrology's 12th house is about prison, so don't make me out to be a bad person. Don't judge me. Alright, I know y'all hear me moving around. I'm looking for something I thought was right here, which is getting on my nerves again, because I kind of need it. It's just one of them days, man. Trying to get it together, man, but it's not my fault. Alright. So I didn't even know the 12th house had to do with neighbors, especially neighbors that are deceitful, betray you, set you up. But I know for a fact it definitely does with neighbors. And it's funny because, see, my neighbors are in a cult. And cults use a lot of idealism to deceive people. But like the 12th house is also buildings. It's like in the 12th house, that's what you're supposed to do to go and help others. Like whether it's in a spiritual background or wherever it's at. But you're supposed to be unselfish in the 12th house because it's also dealing with your karma. So you're in the 12th house kind of like being a servant to others. But you have to be careful because a lot of people burn themselves out because once people know you're out there to help them, they start taking advantage and you could burn yourself out. So I always tell people the best way to help people, the best advice you can give people is to teach them to help themselves. Because otherwise they're going to keep relying on you and you'll be burned out. So they say the reason why Saturn loves the house, the 12th house so much is because Saturn is the author of mischief. Now, like I said, if you really understand what he's saying, like in your Bible, they give you Satan, and Satan will use religion, especially deceptive religion, to cause problems and mislead people, to set people up. So they say that the 12th house ruled by Pisces also rules the feet of humans, their feet. They say in color, it represents the color green. It's a cadent house, feminine and vulgarity, sometimes called cataphora. But in the 12th house, a lot of stuff that's in your subconscious mind is in the 12th house, but they're advising you to use the 12. They're advising you to use the 12th house to pull all that stuff that's in your subconscious mind out, so you can deal with it, work on it, heal from it. And just give us a little bit more. So for some reason, this guy William Lilly has become some type of expert, because there's at least 4 or 5 different websites that use his quotes that I just read. That's why I said things change. Before they used to just tell you about the 12th house. Now everybody wants to tell you what William Lilly says. Now this is the dark pixie astrology. Alright, give me a moment because the BS is back. Because I'm trying to copy something, and now all of a sudden, here comes the BS. Let's just read it, because I just went through this recently. The 12th house rules endings, hidden things, confined places, and your past life. And that's what I'm trying to say. You have Aries right there in your past life. Now they're going to tell you about the 8th house because both the 8th house and the 12th house are similar. The 8th house rules death because it seems as a transformation. The 8th house is seen as a transformation going from one point of existence to another. But the 12th house rules endings where something ends to make way for something new. The 12th house is about clearing the clutter. Hidden things can be anything that's kept from others, usually referring to secrets. Confined places are anywhere you are constrained, like prison or hospitals. If you have any planets in this 12th house, the energy emitted by these planets tend to be hidden. If you have a personal planet in the 12th house, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, you tend to feel misunderstood. This house is ruled by Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune and is a cadent house. Aries in the 12th house. All right. I don't really like that definition for Aries in the 12th house. All right. Before we do Aries in the for 12th house, we still have to find out a lot about the 12th house. All right. So we said the 12th house can deal with past life. So this is tango.com, and believe it or not, they're pretty good. So we'll see what they say. All right. They're beginning to talk about the 12th house. That's the main part we want. 12th house is associated with the energy and karmic imbalances that you're still carrying around from previous lives. So it's still Aries. But now how do you balance out Aries? Well, if Aries is known for jumping into things, and so that makes sense. So now you know why you got the Taurus with Aries. Like I said, see, Aries just want to jump in and just go with the instinct, go with the feeling, and go. But the funny thing is, so do Taurus. Because if Taurus is having fun, Taurus will spend its wallet out. If Taurus likes to gamble, so if Taurus is out on a night of having fun, Taurus will also come home empty. And Aries dives into things, but Aries might not necessarily spend the money out. They'll just dive in, but they may know when to stop, whereas Taurus won't. So that's interesting. That's why I said people could say what they want, but this particular chart is not something you could have. Just like the one I did the 7 hours. Like, people just don't get it. Like, a lot of times when I'm talking, it goes with the read. It's not just me talking. It goes with the read. But, if you're dealing with people that are just kind of selfish, just stick with that. But you can't just stick with that. Because to get the better understanding of what's being said, you have to add with it. That's the whole part of doing this. Like, you'll hear it. It's kind of like when you have a mother and she's always telling you, oh, be careful. Oh, don't do that. Drive carefully. And you're mad. You're like, oh man, she gets on my nerves. All she does is nag. But you better be glad you got that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, that happened to me one time, and I was on the road, and it was like, it should have just been like an easy road up the street, and some fool was out there and they did something. So what I'm saying is, it's in your head. Like, somebody said, be careful. That stuff is in your head, and it kind of saves you. You may not think so, but you're thinking, like, you can hear it, like, hey, be careful. So you're like looking at the road and you're wondering what's going on ahead of me. But it was right at the most dangerous spot of the road, because they were working on an entrance to this store, to this plaza. So because they were working on that entrance, you couldn't turn in there. So anybody going, and normally you could just go kind of fast and turn in there, but people didn't know it, and there were no warning signs, just a bunch of guys working. So if you were going kind of fast to turn in there, and I'm behind that person, they're going kind of fast, and then they're right up on it, and all of a sudden they see guys, and they got to almost slam on their brakes. And then not only are they slamming on their brakes, which is going to mess you up. Now they're not going. Now they're not turning right because they can't turn right. Now they go right back. So now they're cutting you off, kind of. So you got. That's what I said. So by that little bit of be careful, it kind of helps you to, like, what's going on? Why is this car? Yeah, let me slow down just a little bit up here just to make sure. So there's an Aries energy from a past life, and you see that karma is lessons and stuff like that. And this is why that other guy says Saturn, the 12th house, is Saturn's favorite house, because remember, Saturn is who's going to be teaching you the lessons, and a lot of times Saturn is working with Pluto. So the lesson here is to be able to. It's okay to jump up. It's okay to move forward, but you still got to balance that out with, like, patience and things like that, because you might be being lied to, or this might not be the best thing for you. So you may be dealing with wounds from a previous life, or just things you didn't complete that you should have completed in the previous life. So he said, be careful when you're examining the 12th house. Don't just go, oh, it's a 12th house. Everything you got to really work with the person to find out. But I can already tell you, you can see it in the first house. It's just a lot of areas. You just got to be careful being naive and diving into stuff. Now we can do Aries in the 12th house from a past life perspective. I'm gonna show her this sign. I might show y'all too. It's a woman. It looks like she got like a gang sign up. She got on a Nike hat and she got a finger up. It's almost like the P-Funk sign, but instead of just two fingers up, she's got three. And she's covering up her face. Look like some type of secret society. Crazy shit. So that picture will be, hopefully if I don't forget, it'll be in this video, but always at the end of the video. I like Tango because they Tango.com a lot of pictures. So where it says Aries, that's the picture they use for Aries in the 12th house. For all I know, that hand sign might mean 12. I have no idea. Just a little weird. They say that Aries in the 12th house might be solitary, rebellious, warlike. They have an inability to get along on equal footing with other people. They're either going to be working on a bully energy or the victim energy. And again, if you're afraid to speak up, afraid to talk, and all that, that would probably be the victim energy. But I still want to say Aries 12th house past life. All right, now this is trusted psychic mediums, the 12th house, karma, and the subconscious mind. So the 12th house represents all that is hidden or subconscious. It is also an indication of your karma, your suffering, your limitations. So they're saying in Aries. Well, I jumped right into Aries in the 12th house. Alright, well, on the outside, you seem slightly wary, tired or weary, W-A-R-Y. You are driven by an internal strength and self-assurance that anyone would envy. And that's what they keep saying, this person is determined and self-assured. They kind of said that about the first house, too. You're not a self-destructive type, but you are sensitive when other people try to bring you down. But they say that the opinions of others matter very greatly, and they could be a serious blow to you. So again, that would be something else you would need to work on, because really, my mother told me they ain't paying your bills. Don't worry about what people say about you. They ain't paying your bills. My mother doesn't talk like that. It was just the voice I decided to use. But it says, given time, you will adjust to your old ways of self-confidence. They say even if you appear open to others, you have a rich secret life. Well, that's what they said about Taurus in the first house, which you keep private because you are wary of the strength of your feelings. At times, it can be difficult for you to control yourself. You need an outlet for your subconscious emotion so it will not boil over into your conscious life. So that's why I said that's where you got to get to know your dreams, take a pen and pad. You got to write this stuff down, and you got to come. See, that's what the 12th house is supposed to be. Pulling all that stuff out of your subconscious mind and dealing with it. And even you got to get like special help to do that, whatever the case might be. Because the main reason why you see people just wilding out is usually some subconscious mind stuff that has happened. It's usually like family did it, or like I said, you have people that think church or religion is the answer, but then they go in there with all these pedophiles and they still get it. And that's a horrible thing when you go out of your way to protect your kid, and then it's the babysitter or the school. You take your kid to like a child's school or something. So that's why if you hear me talk, I'm used to this shit. That's why you hear me talk. I don't care what it sounds like. That's the way it is. And anybody running from that is just stupid. Anybody that just wants bubblegum astrology, listen, this is the third dimensional world. It's a very problematic world. This is why you get your natal chart, because you have to deal with this shit, not run from it. And all you're doing is hurting yourself or your kids or somebody else, because you're not learning how to break the cycle. And you just run. Oh, just think, but don't even think about that. Oh, no, I don't want to think that's negative. It's not negative energy if it's true and it's on your chart. This is something you're supposed to be working on. Calling negative energy and running, that's what a little child would do. That's no sign of immaturity. That's no sign of maturity. And I guarantee, if that person met their Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, the moment that person got on their nerves, they'd run from that person or cheat on that person. So it's a character issue. The 12th house is where you got to bring it out and deal with it. And the faster you begin to do it, the better off your life will become, because this stuff won't be able to hold you back no more. It's like if somebody knows something about you now, they're holding it over your head. I'm going to tell everybody you did this. I'm going to tell everybody. But the moment you take that fire away from them, they can't do jack. Tell them what they already know. I already told them. Then the guy can't do nothing. The 12th house in Taurus. Okay, well, we already did it. Your 12th house is in Aries, so we took care of that. But also, so past life, it's just the desire to jump into things without really thinking about it and getting more information and stuff like that. So that is something you should be working on in this life. And Taurus will slow you down a little bit and be patient. Now, East Point is the ego of the sun. And usually East Point and AC, EP and AC are usually in the same house. The first house but yours is there. But the number 27 is the diplomat. Now, Palace helps you see patterns. But Pallas can also be your soulmate, who's a little bit more mature. But because he's at 12 degrees, you have to be careful, because 12 degrees really is the Hangman card. And the Hangman card is Neptune energy. And this is Neptune's house, because Neptune rules Pisces, but he's in a suspended state. So like I said, a lot of times Pallas can represent your soulmate. So there's something about suspension with your soulmate. But again, if it's Neptune energy, you also have to be careful of deception. Now again, these houses don't have anything in it, so we're going to do those. Your 11th house, spiritual. So really your 11th house is a lot like your 12th house, because Pisces rules your 12th house. So wherever you see your 12th house, but also where planet Neptune is, that is also going to affect your 11th house. And your 11th house is ruled by Aquarius, even though Pisces is there. So this is going to be some form of inspiration or spirituality with people. Now your 10th house is Aquarius. And again, that's your career and reputation. So again, Aquarius represents your 11th house as friends, association, groups, but it can also be the community and stuff like that. So your career will be somehow connected with that energy. Friends, association, groups, and the community. Now your 9th house is actually Capricorn, which is your career and reputation. And even medium Coeli. Medium Coeli points to, it works with your true north node, or why you're here, and also works with like your reputation or your career. But that's just in your 9th house. And your 9th house is really your higher self. It still deals with publishing, but it's just more mature than your 3rd house, because your 3rd house deals with publishing too. But your 9th house is more mature with dealing with your higher self, class, culture, foreign people, foreign language, long distance. Higher courts, higher laws, in-laws, philosophy. But again, at 23, so this person is going to be really witty. They're going to be a really good speaker with 23. And again, it does mean sensuality as well. But 23 can also mean something happening like Uranus or chaos, something coming out of nowhere. So you just got to be careful not to switch up. Because you don't want to come out of nowhere, or you don't want to mess up your reputation due to switching up. And again, this is the 9th house ruled by Sagittarius and Jupiter. And that represents your belief system. All right, so now we go back down. So now you have Gemini in your 2nd house. So this person can be very creative with money. But Gemini represents your 3rd house, even though it's in your 2nd house. And this is education for younger children. It's publishing. It's creativity. It's short travel. So your money, possessions, and your value system are connected somehow to like Gemini, like I said, which could be communication, multitasking, mental stuff, and all that other stuff I said that I just said. But now your Vesta is there, and she really is she works with Virgo, which is good because Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. She works with Virgo, she works with the home, but she's usually a priestess. But she can also be highly sexual. It just depends on what her placement is. And she is fire. But she's at 16 degrees, which is Mars energy. And Mars, that's the Tower card. And that's all about something coming down. And usually it comes down so you can build it back up. But it's just that, it's not clear why this would be going on in your second house yet. It's just not clear. So because it's Vesta at 16 degrees, what you can tend to do is just see if there's anything about Vesta conjunct Mars or Vesta aspect Mars. Because that's almost like the Aries energy again because of Mars. Alright, I'm just trying to check this out. Alright, give me a moment because this page was supposed to give me some insight on what I'm looking for. It is talking about Vesta, but I really have to look at it in regard to what I'm looking for as far as this natal chart. And so far, alright. Just give me a moment. We just have to look for it. Alright. See, wherever you have Vesta at, you got to be careful because if you don't take breaks, you'll burn yourself out. But it seems like it's going to be some type of confrontation in your second house of money. But it makes sense because as you see, your Taurus is in Aries and Mars rules Aries, and your Vesta's 16 degrees, which is Mars energy. All right, so this says, give me a moment. So they say invested just means devotion, dedicated. If this is the second house and the second house is about money, she's dedicated to that. So they say invested with Mars will be a person who gives all they can for a task. But see, remember the number 16 is Mars energy, but it's a tower card. And I mean things come down. They might come back up, but they come down. So let's try Vesta and Gemini. Now this is called Moon Plus Astrology.com. My first time ever saying it. Like I said, be new sites to come out, which is good because there used to didn't be a whole lot of sites for Vesta as far as stuff like this. It says Vesta and Gemini, lips like fire. Do you have lips like fire? So they all say she's a passionate worker. And she's already fired by herself. She has a fiery personality. Like I said, she's a priestess. But she could also be highly sexual. But I'm just saying why is she in the second house and why is she got 16 or Mars tower like energy. Now the reason why they say lips like fire because Gemini is a communicator, like a teacher. So Vesta is fire. She's a hearth. Like she's also connected to the furnaces and stuff in your house and Virgo. I know that for a reason because I've been out here forever, so I won't give another story. But the bottom line is she definitely showed me. She's connected to your furnace, your electricity, and plus, like I said, the people in my house, the majority of people associated with my house are Virgos. But she showed me all that on a Sunday, the asteroid Virgo. And then the guy, she like it was nothing wrong with the heat, but she made it. She messed it up on purpose to show how real this shit was. So we had somebody come to check the heat, and the guy that came to check the heat was my older sister's boyfriend from way back in the day. So when I was in school chatting with that female that just wrote me recently, my sister was dating that guy that came to check the furnace, and he said it was nothing wrong with it. But all that was all through Vesta, and it just shows you how powerful astrology is. This is why this is the stuff you should be tapped into, taken serious, and all that bubblegum stuff should be second nature. because that's exactly what it is. It's bubblegum astrology. All it leads to is more heartache and stuff like that. Not saying you shouldn't do it, but you would have got heartache anyway. That's an act of life. When you're dating anybody, you guys are going to go through good times and bad times. You can't get away from it no matter where you run. Alrighty. So Vesta is associated with Virgo or Scorpio by many astrologers. So she said, but this woman says to her, Vesta represents the hidden fire in your chart. So she's telling you that you have a lot of fire in your second house. Well, that is your money house and stuff like that. But again, like I said, Gemini, as I said, younger education, younger people, travel, creativity, multitasking, the brotherhood. And you know why I say, even on your chart, you see a lot of Aquarius, because Aquarius and Gemini are a lot alike, but um, Gemini says brotherhood, Aquarius says the community, or Aquarius says friends, association, groups. But at the end of the day, it's just people. So Vesta can be the holy fire, including the sweeping of the temple. Because you know, even when people get married, they sweep, depending on what wedding you go to. So she's saying wherever you see Vesta, you have sacred fire. So again, your sexuality and what's sacred through Vesta, but it still is going through money, the second house. And remember, your second house is ruled by Taurus also. But it's just that with Gemini there, the implication is it might not be long lasting because Gemini is not one for long term. So whoever you're hooking up with or whatever you're connected to in your second house, it may not last long. And number 16, Tower, that's a Tower card, meaning it comes down. It comes down. It may come back up later or whatever, but it comes down. All right. So now she said Vesta is in the sign of Gemini now. I mean, whenever she wrote this, it might not be in the sign now at our time, but during her time when she wrote this, Vesta was in Gemini. So she's saying for some reason in the area of Gemini, you would be burning. And that's where your sacred fire is. See, your Gemini might be your twin, just to let you know. Gemini rules the arms, cars, small birds, breath, books, communication, contracts, crystals. And it's not just small birds, it's also small children. And remember, Virgo rules the sixth house, and it's about small animals and small children. And if you know anything about Mercury, see, Mercury is Thoth. He deals with birds, especially tricky birds like crows and ravens. But so does a female, or Morrigan. Her name is Morrigan, Moorign, and she also does the same thing. She's like the feminine energy of Thoth. Communication, contracts, crystals, duality, forms, gossip, highways, letters, messengers, office papers, porters, relatives, restlessness, rumors, streets, and that's gossip because Gemini is also gossip. Streets, telephones, thought, wireless, walking, twins, woodbine riders. So Vesta, like I said, she used to work and she wants to get it done in the second house of finance. But for some reason there is some type of shakeup, tower like situation. And that number 11 could mean couple, just like Gemini could mean couple. But the number 11 can also mean justice card, which would mean law or legal. But number 11 can also go to number 2, become number 2, which could be the couple, like I said, couple. But it could also be the strength card, which is still a couple card. So it's implying that there might be some legal situations that pop off over finances or money. And even where your Taurus is, it shows healing. But both those 14 degrees and 17 degrees. So it's showing you the two cards, Temperance or Sagittarius energy. But the Temperance card is also about balancing the two energies of masculine and feminine. Or it's showing you the Star card, which is Aquarius. Again, showing balancing those two energies. All right, now in your third house, ruled by Gemini, is family. So this is still education. Now it could be real young people education, but it could also be teenage education. Now I already said with everything that's in your third house, but now your fourth house is there too. So this is family, education, land and property, or real estate, family and ancestors, vehicles and travel, the heart, and whoever raised you when you were young, that would be Imom Kweli. And she's ruled by the moon as well. But she's in Cancer. This would be the mother, whoever raised you in that mother position. That's Imom Kweli. So all this is going on in your third house. But like I said, remember, the third house is all about short stuff. Like, it's not as deep as it should be. The communication isn't as good as it should be. The relationship is not as committed as it should be. So your Venus is at 0 degrees. Again, that's Uranus energy. That's the Fool card, but it's Uranus energy. It kind of comes out of nowhere. So it's also the Novus. Because remember they were saying that you're kind of like young in certain areas, like you're somewhat maybe young or naive. They were saying that in your first house. And again, there's no real reason being given here. So Venus is always going to be about love, finances, forgiveness, diplomacy, maybe having fun. But I think what went on in your second house, what we talked about, I think it has a bearing on your third house too, because Gemini rules your third house. Because it's like a beginning or a naive love, but it's nothing to really back it up. And then when we look in your fourth house, which is still family, you got Leo there. So Leo is the leader. So this person was probably, whatever family arrangement they found themselves in, they may have been some type of leader. And sometimes your fourth house is also your soulmate. Like your twin soul is your twin flame. Same person. Twin soul, twin flame, same person. It's the same soul, different body. That person has the same exact soul as you, different body. Now your soulmate could really be anybody in your soul family or soul tribe, but you usually have some type of connection with them. And you may have been with them through different past lives too. And a lot of times we take on different roles. One lifetime we might have been a couple. Next lifetime we just work together. And we don't always get along. It's like we might know, but I see this all the time. Like when I'm working places, I already tell. Like people just staring at you, but they're never gonna tell you why. Even if you really asked them. Like even if you said I really would like to know. Like it might be different for females. If she was asking a guy, he might tell her. Like if she was going, or you know, I don't mean that, but I just would like to know. You know, boom, boom, boom. Or you know, I believe in metaphysics or whatever. Maybe, and he might finally fess up. But usually they're not going to tell you. Like if a dude goes up to her, it just depends on the dude. If she's interested, she might tell him. But she might. What I'm trying to tell you, this is stuff I know as a fact. She'll sit there and stare at you like fucking crazy, and you'll know she's staring. But if you go up to her and say, "Hey, how you doing?" I don't mean nothing by it. I'm into metaphysics and stuff like that. I was just wondering, boom, boom, boom. I just saw you staring, and could you let me know why? Or she probably ain't gonna tell you. She might even act like, "Man, get out of here. I'm not staring at you," because she feels insecure and shit, and she feel like you trying to put her on blast or set her up and shit. But I've had plenty of jobs where somebody just sit there staring, and I know it's past life shit. Because nowadays everybody's beginning to wake up, so you kind of know it's something about this person. You kind of know already, but it's just that you're still third dimensional. So a female, if she's not interested in you, she don't want no connection, even though she's thinking about it. Like, damn, why do I keep thinking about this guy? Or why did I dream about this guy? Or I don't like this guy. Why? And she's just standing there watching you. But if you say anything to her, she's gonna kind of get a little defensive, like mind your business. No, I wasn't looking at you. Nah. But like I know the last job I had, it was one female. I was always kind of picking on her like a little sister. But me and her never really talked. But one time she was just sitting there just staring at me like a long time. So I knew she knew. But I was always like, when it came to her, just naturally, I always treated her like my little sister. But we never really had a full conversation and shit like that. Just if I was at the door and she got to the door around the same time, I would say something slick to her. I always was fucking with her. Because like you would do your little sister, like kind of bullying her and shit. And there was another female that was there. That I was like, "Yo, are you related to this family?" She was like, "No." I was like, "Are you related to that family?" She was like, "No." But me and her were like real close, like the whole. And not only were me and her real close, like all her girlfriends, we were all close. And like I'm not really like that. Like where I work at, I'm real quiet. I keep to myself. But her people, I was cool with every last one of them. So that's all soulmate stuff. That's soul tribes and soul family. You just know inside that there's a connection. And sometimes when you're working somewhere, somebody will go out of their way to try to get next to you or talk to you. That's like a soul connection too. Even like if you see weird ass shit, like people, like even today, as soon as I opened up my door, this same female I just did a video on this morning on my show, I was uploading it, and it was early in the morning. I just opened up my door, and that same female came walking by, walking her dog or something. So all these people are some type of soul connections you got with, and sometimes like I've been stalked many times before, so I'm real funny about who's coming near my house. Like that's like the biggest mistake a person can make, because I don't play that. Stay the hell away from my house. Don't hang out around my house. Had this big ugly guy that was out there every single day. No matter when I went outside, this guy was literally standing out there just looking at me. And I really like you got to back up, dude. You're too close to my house. You could lose your life doing that. So that went on for a long time. A lot of prayer, a lot of warnings were given, and finally, like after 2.5 years, it fizzles out. He's still around though. I see him every now and then, but not like I used to. This guy was literally out there all the time. And even when he looked at me, he would look at me the same way that them females look at you. Like they look at you like they know you. And I'd be like, "Yo, you're making me feel real uncomfortable. Back up." So you got to really know how to approach. If you're going to approach somebody, you got to really know how to do that, because people just don't know who you are. And if they've been stalked before or victimized before, they may be interested in this stuff, but not so much that it makes them feel uncomfortable. So now in your fifth house, it's like a leader, but your true north node is there as well. So like I said, it could be saying you're a leader in that realm, which this is your family house. But it could also be your soulmate or your twin soul, your twin flame, your twin soul, because you see that star, that little asterisk, that's Juno. But see now Juno's number 4. Now the number 4 tarot card is the Emperor. So that's Aries energy again. So that's why when you see Aries in your chart, that could be your soulmate. That could be your twin soul. Because number 4 is Aries energy, the Emperor. And see now you also see a leader. So your twin soul, your twin flame might be like a leader. He has a leader type personality, but he's still a Leo. He's got Leo energy too. He might not be a Leo, but he's got a Leo energy. Because that's how you see it. You see it in your sun sign, and you see it in the Aries. And that's where you see love in your Cancer, which could also be that person. Because this is all Cancer, Venus, Leo, Aries energy. A lot of fire and also some water signs. Because Cancer is water. Now, number 4 can also be pragmatic, which is also like Capricorn energy, which is kind of like earthy energy. But that goes back to them saying Vesta is a worker, and Capricorn is also a worker. Because even your 14 is Capricorn, and that you're still hearing 4. Because remember, when you live many lifetimes, that's why this shit is confusing. Because there's so many lifetimes, so you got all kind of zodiac signs. So that's why I said, when you're really working with this, you get your natal chart, you listen. But the more you listen, the more your inside begins to open up to who you really are. And none of this shit's gonna matter, because when you go technical, that's how people get pissed off. And that's why when you read John chapter 3, Nicodemus represented the technician. He want to explain everything to you, want to explain every symbol, every shape. He thinks that's gonna give him the answer, but it's not. That's why Jesus said the wind lifts where it wants. The wind goes, your intuition kicks in. See, the masculine, he's like Nicodemus. He wants to try to explain everything from A to Z and all that. But Jesus represented the wind, or the feminine. The intuition will kick in, and you'll just already know. And that's why stuff starts to make sense. It didn't make sense. Why did this female do all that? But then when I tried to approach her, she act like I'm stupid. Like, nigga, I'm not interested in you. Like, then what the heck you keep staring at me, following me through the fucking building for? But she's doing that because inside she knows there's a connection. But she's afraid of it because she don't necessarily want to connect with you, and she don't know how to go about it. So she'll sit there and she'll do all kind of stuff to get your attention. She'll stare at you, drop papers in front of you. She'll do all kind of crazy shit. And if you don't understand how this stuff works, you're thinking she's interested in you. And maybe deep down she is, but that's not why she's doing all that. She just can't figure out who you are and why she's having all this stuff going on with you. And she's trying to get some type of answer from you. But even if you try to talk to her, she's still going to like push you away. Like, nah, I don't even know what you're talking about. You sound crazy. Even though she's dreaming about this stuff. So until she gets past all that, that's all you're going to have. And that's why you got to be real careful how you approach people and stuff like that. Because I'm real honest. I'll say to somebody real quick. Like, I think we knew each other in the past. I used to do that. But it can blow up. It can blow out. Like, more and more in these later years, I'm getting more and more quiet. Even like I said, if you were listening to me while I was talking, even with neighbors, I'll go out of my way to be neighborly and do nice stuff. But these people are too low in frequency. So everything I did that was nice, they just flip it and make it dirty and just horrible. Like, literally horrible. Like, you can't even believe you guys are calling yourself Christians and calling yourself all these names, but you are horrible. Like, you talking about love your neighbor. You're like the worst neighbors we ever had in our whole fucking life, and I've known you my whole life. So this is a mockery, and I've never did nothing to these people. That's what makes it so bad. The way they act, you would think I did some. Never been in their property, never touched their land, never touched nothing of them, known them my whole life, and they still act like that. So this is where we're in third dimensional, and it is how it is. But this is why the more you realize that, you have to learn how to stabilize yourself so that you don't go crazy or get all upset about stuff. And also, you have to realize everybody's not going to be on the same level you are, and everybody's not going to be paced. So you got to learn how to pace stuff. And what I learned, what I always used to say anyway, but now I practice it more than anything. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Because all the best astrologers in the world could tell you this person's for you. All the signs can tell you this person's for you and everything, but that person may not be ready. Or whatever that person needs to be interested, you may not have at that particular time in your life. You may never have it. And it might take that person years before they realize, you know what, I knew that was the one for me, but I just was at my expectations for how it should happen were wrong. So they may grow up and realize, maybe my expectations for how it should have happened was wrong, and maybe I should have gave that person a chance. And they may see things differently. But I've learned not to worry about none of this. Like I've learned, like for me personally, just be happy. Some people they have to have somebody in their life, and maybe you do. I don't know. I'm happy. Like I could be happy. You know what I'm saying? I'm more interested in being happy than anything. You know, because I don't believe another person. Y'all can have happy experiences, but the only person that can make you happy is you. So if you believe somebody else can make you happy, and that's what you're looking for, what happens when you see that person's shortcomings? You still gonna be happy? Probably not. Only person that can do that for you is you. So again, True North Node. So Juno, that little star, is somebody you have been in or will be in a serious relationship with. It'll be a family-minded type person. Anything that's in the fourth house is possible. And also, Leo. And I said your number is 1, 4, or 5. There go Leo. Leo lives number 5. He rules the fifth house. But I think your soulmate or your twin flame, their number will be like 4. Even that number below is 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So 4 twos or 4-2 would be like 44. And then even a 24. And that number 24, your true north node, see, this is your true north node means your life purpose. It is your life purpose to be somewhat of a leader or to be connected to a leader, a Leo, in a family environment. And Leo is fun, romance, children-like behavior, leader, being very creative. But 24 means a return. So in other words, you've probably done this before. The number 24 degrees means the return. And again, if it is if you had the right natal chart for this person we're talking about, you would learn more about what your chart is saying, because both of those charts would tell a story. Now, and see, they go 44 again. Now, your Jupiter is your money, your belief system, and where you grow and expand. And it's definitely good fortune. Now, that's stepping right into the fifth house, ruled by Leo. And again, it's at 0 degrees. So you got a Venus and Jupiter at 0 degrees. So again, these are areas where you're going to be kind of fresh in, novice, possibly naive. And see, that's a good thing about the natal chart, because once you know that, you can prepare for it, so that you're not so naive that you get hurt, or not that you're not so naive that you trust somebody who takes advantage of your naivety. Because my policy is a little bit different, but you guys gotta understand I've been through all this many times throughout my lifetime. Like money, you should always keep control over your money, because that's the first thing people say. Oh, we're in it together and let's put it in together. You shouldn't do that. Like really, if y'all open up your own account where you put some of your money in it and they put some of their money in it, but you should never have all your money in assets, because anything could go wrong. Because like I said it again, people are not perfect, and sometimes people have secret faults that you don't know about. So somebody could be a gambler, addict, and whatever, and the next thing you wake up and all your money's gone. You know, I got a cousin who for years, you know, they were able to get through a whole lot, because in their family they had a lot of people that died. They also had a lot of murders in their family, so they carried it. Like I said, they're just like my brother-in-law. They went repressive. They never dealt with it. But the one thing they had that kept them strong was their wife. So those two had a great relationship. But then the wife recently died, and from the moment she died, he just went downhill, literally. You know, just self-destructive activity, and just totally went downhill. So that's why I try to say you have to be ready for anything in this life. To think, oh, you're going to have a happy marriage and a happy. I mean, something's going to test that. I'm not saying you won't have a happy, but something is going to test that. Either that person, either you, or something around you. So it's not that you walk around being pessimistic, but you do walk around being aware that you're in third dimensional. So things are going to happen. And that's why you have to really see things differently. You have to be prepared for if these things happen. So that Jupiter is a naivety about money and expansion, which is not good to be naive about those areas. And see now Mars. See, look at your Mars. It's 3, and then you got 14 again. See now, look what I'm about to show you. Your Mars is 3. Now go back to Gemini, your second house of money. That Gemini represents the third house, which indicates usually a little immaturity in a relationship. But then you got 14. Now follow your 14. Now that goes to your Taurus. That's also your money. Taurus rules your second house where your money is. Now Mars is number 16 on the tarot card. It's the Tower card, all about coming down in fire. Now follow your Vesta. There it is. There it is. And Vesta works with Virgo, just like I told you. So you're going to have some type of situation with money. It's almost like that money's going to go up in smoke. Maybe literally or figuratively. But it's almost like it's a sacrifice. Because you got both Vesta and Virgo. And then there goes Saturn right there, which is like karmic. And then look at what number your Saturn is. Your Saturn is 20 degrees, which is the judgment card. And judgment card is about judgment, but it could also be about absolution or meeting your karmic debt and starting over. Now Virgo is, it's almost saying what I told you earlier. Because your Virgo represents the 6th house, which is the home. This is health, daily activities, small children, small animals, co-workers, subordinates, health and service. But ironically, this is in your 5th house, which is supposed to be about fun. But I already told you the connection between Taurus and the Sun, or the Taurus and Leo. And I told you that could be like I said, like wasting your money, almost like burning it away. So you will have some type of karmic loss, a karmic situation regarding your finances. And that 15 is a devil card. Your Saturn retrograde 15 devil card, which can mean a person thinks they're bound, but they're not. But that goes back to what I said about naivety. So you might get involved with somebody who kind of fucks your money up. But that you got to learn what I just told you. And that's why if you go back to your first house, and they said it also again in your 12th house, they were telling you about independence. Like I'm trying to tell you. Because what happens when you get trapped up in naivety, what you're trying to do is make decisions of your money based on the person you're with. And according to what I'm showing you, that's you're gonna suffer loss. And it's gonna be a significant loss as well. That's why I be telling people, you might be with somebody, say, oh, let's go to Atlantic City or whatever, and you go and you're bringing your money too, and either you or that person is just reckless when it comes to finances, especially when you're gambling. And they already said Taurus really will just blow out money in the 5th house. When the Taurus goes out to have fun, they get caught up in a moment and will blow that money out. Now, the number 3 under the Mars energy is the Empress. She could represent children. But see, your 5th house is about children, and even if you got Virgo in the 5th house, that's the home, but that's still like children having fun and stuff like that. And 14, we already said, was the Temperance card or Sagittarius energy. Now we're going to read Saturn retrograde. Now Saturn and Pluto. Now Saturn and Jupiter are both social planets, and you have both of those planets in that house. So retrograde Saturn is about karma, but it's a tough taskmaster. It causes you to work harder, take longer to get things done. So they say when you're dealing with Saturn retrograde, this is when you have to be patient. You have to learn how to take time to breathe, think things through, and do them right the first time. Also, issues with authority may be in the forefront with a Saturn retrograde. If you're working on legal matters or contracts or deals, they may be delayed. Deadlines may be extended. Deadlines may be extended. You may find yourself working on something you thought was already complete with a Saturn retrograde. So if Saturn retrograde is in your chart, you may be always seems like you're in conflicts with authority. You may feel persecuted by these people or these type, but it's saying you may also be abusive, abusing whatever power authority you have. Saturn retrograde could also be somebody who has difficulty in setting limitations. Now again, remember this is in your 5th house of fun, just like I said. So Saturn retrograde could even be a person that has no discipline in the 5th house. And that's why I said burn that money out one way or another. And like I said, remember, Vesta can be highly sexual. Some people see sex in finances and stuff. Like when you be seeing them people, they throw all that money up and be on the bed, then they be having sex on the money and stuff. That's a form of Vesta. In the 2nd house. So you may have a trouble, speaking up for yourself, as they said in your 1st house, or a trouble with self-control, because that's what Saturn retrograde means. Don't know how to tell yourself no, which could lead to loss. And also you might have a problem with patience, so you have to learn patience as well. So they're saying Saturn retrograde means in a past life you may have had a problem with abuse as either the abuser or the victim. They say you may have even been a prisoner in a past life. Or you may have been an abusive ruler. So they say often some people tend to make somebody else do what they should be doing themselves. A lot of parents do that. So they're saying in this life you have to learn a lesson of patience. And again, that would be Taurus. Taurus is very patient. But you also have to learn a lesson of accountability, accountabilities. You have to hold yourself accountable. But if somebody has done anything against you, you have to hold them accountable as well. And you also have to get to the point where you don't wait for someone to speak up for you, but you learn how to speak up for yourself. Because that way, if you're waiting, you'll continue to be victimized. Because anytime somebody says something slick to you, the first thing they're thinking is, did I get away with it? Because if you don't respond, they're going, I just told this person off, and they didn't say nothing back. That's why you see some people, no matter what you say to them, they're going to say something back, because they already know if they don't say anything back, you're going to think you can say whatever. So they say you have to definitely learn how to be constructive. You got to learn how to be external with your communication, not just holding in. Be repressive. If you do that, you can end the cycle of victimization. And don't bully other people. You know, if really you could do it yourself, usually do it yourself instead of thinking somebody else should get it. Because they're saying that's a form of being a bully or abusive as well. All right. And again, this is karmic, like I said. So if the universe is trying to help you overcome just running with Aries energy, they would have to cause you to suffer loss, because that's the only thing that's going to teach you not to just jump up and just run and just get caught up in the moment. All right, I'll put this on pause for a moment. I'll be back. All right, we'll continue. Now we're in Virgo, which is the home sector. And we already told you what's in Virgo, the sixth house, because we just read it, because Virgo's right there in your fifth house. So we already read your sixth house. But now with Pluto there, that's the great transformation. And as I told you, it's going to take something away so that you can move on. Pluto retrograde definitely means taking something away. Because otherwise you think you depend on it, you need it, and you're not going to make any changes as long as it's there. And that's, you got your 16 degrees with your Vesta, which is the Mars energy. Then you see Mars literally in Virgo, who rules the sixth house. And now you're in the sixth house. So like I said, that could even be home energy or Virgo energy. And it's karmic because Saturn's right there with the judgment card. And the judgment card is Pluto. The energy for the judgment card number 20 is Pluto. So whenever you see Saturn and Pluto, especially retrograde, these are lessons. Saturn is going to give you a little spanking or smack you on the hand type of lesson, but Pluto is coming hardcore. Pluto is coming to knock something out. He's not coming to play. Pluto also rules the 8th house. Pluto rules Scorpio. And even the mythology says that Pluto rules hell. And myastrologybook.com says that planet Pluto is a planet of the black people. Now you look at that number 17. That is also a karmic number 17. But it's also that star card or Aquarius energy. And number 21 is also a karmic number, which is the Saturn world card, Saturn energy. So you definitely have some type of karmic connections with a Virgo energy or a home-like energy. And again, number 14 being Temperance or Sagittarius energy. Number 17 being the Star or Aquarius energy. So that's why I want to double check that. So now, Libra, who rules your 7th house, is in your 6th house of service. Now again, whenever they do stuff like this, like putting your 6th house, 7th and all that, that's because of past life stuff. And remember, that's the whole idea. However it was done the first time, it wasn't necessarily done correctly. And possibly because you was running through it. You had all that Aries and you was just running through it. Now let's go back to your true north node. 4th house family. So that's your true north node. North node. This is what you should be working on in this life. When you go right across, that's your south node. That's what you already worked on in the previous life. And Aquarius is right there. Because as you notice, Aquarius just keeps popping up on your chart. But you probably got some type of soulmate or twin flame, twin soul connection to that Aquarius energy. And it's in the 10th house, which is Capricorn. And again, Capricorn, you might have a connection to that Capricorn energy. But remember, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so that also is going to be karmic. So when you're looking over here at number 17 in your 6th house, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at Aquarius energy, but it has a karmic appeal to it with number 17. So when you're writing all this, you kind of get the idea. And some of these energies of people may still be around you today. And that'll begin to explain why there may be this type of connections, or, why me and so-and-so don't get along, why me and so-and-so are always arguing. All this is going to be on your natal chart as you start to wake up. This is why you need a natal chart. This is why all these people that think they're smarter than astrology, they're smarter than God, they're smarter than spirit, they're smarter than people that actually do this. That's why I'm trying to say it's not going to make it. Astrologically speaking, all that bubblegum astrology and all that immaturity is not going to make it. And what they have to understand, just like you're seeing all this judgment on your chart and all this Saturn and all that stuff, this shit has to be accounted for. Remember, who does Saturn represent? Saturn represents your boss. But you got to think wider, not just as above, so below. Saturn represents the person who's really running this. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. We just read about the 12th house, and they said Saturn loves to be in the 12th house or connected to the 12th house because he likes to judge people. He likes to go in there and say, hey, you didn't do this, and boom, boom, boom. And your Bible tells you Satan is the accuser of our brother. Then you see God telling Satan in Job chapter 1, Job chapter 2. And remember, Job is job where you work at. What I'm trying to tell you is as above, so below. So when you see whatever going on in your below life, the same stuff is going on above. And just like I said, that Saturn will be Satan coming for a reason, aiming at whatever. And he's coming to accuse. He's coming to say, you didn't do this, now I can do this to you. And that's why when they tell you the Bible, oh, you're going to go to hell. Why? Because you didn't do this, so now you're going to hell. So that's what Saturn says. Saturn says, you didn't do this, so now I can do this to you. I can take this away from you because you didn't do that. You didn't meet your karmic debt, so now I'm going to do this to you. And then Pluto is Hades or hell. So this is what you're looking at. So anybody that thinks this is a joke and they think they can just do whatever they want to, don't get your natal chart or get some old crappy natal chart done or get some natal chart, you don't even know what the hell's going on, but you walking around acting like, oh, I got my natal chart done. Don't even know what it really says. It's missing asteroids and all this crazy shit that you people do out here. And you expect somebody not to tell you? What am I supposed to do? Wait till you have time to pay? Time to meet Mr. Pluto down below. Because your ancients knew all this. All you got to do is study it. Like they say, oh, it's just mythology. Don't worry about it. They're lying to you. The myth is his story. That's the freaking myth. His story is the myth. Because he knows all this crap. That's why he gives you fake ass stuff, fake ass this, fake ass stuff, and have you looking away from where you're supposed to be doing. So when you study history, you'll find out how much you've been lied to. Oh, that event didn't happen over there. It happened over there. Oh, that wasn't these people. It was these people. Oh, that didn't happen in the year. They said that happened back here in this year. His story. This guy's lying through his freaking teeth because he doesn't want you to wake up. And unfortunately, most of these dumbed down people they're cool with that. But they're not going to be cool with that when they're in a place of heat. So that's what I would strongly advise you to figure this stuff out before it's too late. Because once you get there, it ain't no getting out. It ain't no coming back. Now, when you got Pluto with Libra, that's telling you law. So now, when you have Libra in the sixth house, so that's the home and all that. But now you're dealing with law, business partnerships, contracts, legal matters, courts and courtrooms, open enemies, business agreements. All this is coming from the home. Now, that's that 17 degrees again. I mean, that vertex. That's the vertex cross. That has to do with fate and destiny. So it's fate and destiny to have some type of business relationship or love or dating relationship or legal situation in your home sector. Fate or destiny. And again, you're dealing with karma because you see the number 17, but even Libra deals with karma. That's why you go to jail and says, hey, listen, because you did this, we got to do this to you. Guilty. Karma. You did this, now we're going to do that. We got to balance the scales of justice. So this is a fated destiny because that's what the vertex cross means, and it's 17. Still balancing, or karma 17, but it's still dealing with the star, or it's still dealing with, let me look at this really quick. Dealing with the star, Aquarius energy. But the card is still about balancing. If you ever saw the star card, it's balancing the water with the earth, the masculine with the feminine. And if you look at the scales of justice, there's two of them, which is still dealing with balance. Because when you're dealing with Aries, Aries is imbalanced. Remember that. Aries is just running. Aries ain't about balance. So this is a fated event that must occur. And that 01 is 17 degrees in 1 minute. 01. That 01 is your Mercury card or your Magician card. So this could be some type of connection to a Libra or Virgo. Pluto retrograde at 19 degrees. Now that's the Sun card. 19 degrees. And that could make it fiery. That could make it hot. But again, at 19 degrees, wherever your Sun card is, that might hold some answers. But also, since the Sun rules like Leo, that may hold some answers. But whatever it's going to be transforming. Something is going to be taken to cause transformation. But it could be Virgo energy, it could be Leo energy, Libra energy. But it's something that's either going to be in a home or, like I said, some type of agreement in the home. But whatever it is, it's going to be taken by Pluto retrograde. Now, Lilith retrograde is definitely about regression. But usually when you see Lilith in the home sector or even in the relationship sector, this may have to do with some form of abuse. that has caused Lilith to go into regression, holding it in. Or for whatever reason, she may not be happy in a relationship or whatever. So she still goes to regression. But either way, that's still Saturnian, because at 21 degrees, it's still karmic. So the implication is something took place. When you're dealing with retrogrades, it's probably past life. But something took place that hasn't been reckoned with yet. And the karmic debt hasn't been met yet. So anywhere where there's relationships or the home, this has got to be dealt with. Because if not, you'll continually have problems in these areas. Because it's not like the universe just takes something and says, okay, that's it. That's your depth. No, you got to meet it. Somehow you got to become aware of it and do something about it. And what you're hearing now is real astrology. And any real astrologer that knows astrology and past lives and all that retrogrades, they'll tell you the same stuff. And bubblegum astrology may make a person feel a certain way. But like I said, it's just like taking drugs to hide the pain. You're not dealing with the situation, and you're going to have to pay for that. All right, so when you have, like I said, you really got to study your 8th house. That's Scorpio. You have Scorpio in your 8th house. That's very watery. Let's do it again. You have Scorpio in your 7th house, excuse me. That's very watery. But everything I just said about Libra and everything I said, because Pluto in Libra is just like saying Scorpio in the 7th house. It's going to be very transforming, very powerful, power struggles, obsession, just very, very watery. Could be very sexual, very mysterious, things being hidden. And I'm saying anything mysterious or hidden, that's repression. Because a lot of people even compare Lilith retrograde to Scorpio or the 8th house. So now you got Uranus retrograde with 23 degrees. Now, 23 degrees, even at number 33. See, your 7th house, because Scorpio is there, it's just like the 8th house. But when you see that 33, a lot of times that 33 is representing like Freemasonry or any type of secrets. Whether you call it Eastern Star, Freemasonry, whatever you call it, it's still like secret stuff. Like secret societies and secret information. Because Scorpio rules the 8th house, and that's what that's all about. Like mysteries and transformations and secrets and all that. But this is a house that's out of control. Like on your chart, your 7th house is like out there. It's like when everything go buck wild, just out there. And this is your 7th house of relationship. So everything I said about Libra is really going on in your 7th house. And that's why I'm telling you, Libra does represent the law. It does represent courtrooms and stuff like that. And that's why when you see your Vesta at 16 degrees, it makes sense when you see the rest of your chart. And then Uranus retrograde, like they say in the past life, Uranus retrograde could be somebody who was like a revolutionary, or somebody who was incarcerated for revolutionary, or somebody who went to jail for something they didn't really commit. But it's just somebody that's really out there. The Uranus retrograde is like the bipolar person, come out of nowhere. And even number 23. And even like Uranus in connection with Scorpio, that could also be like high technology or alternative medicine. All these things have to do with the 8th house. But either way, it's honestly off the hooks, off the chain. And remember, Mars used to rule Aries. Well, Mars used to rule Scorpio. Now Mars rules Aries. So that whole just out there, that whole intensity, and it's all out there. And Uranus rules Aquarius. So you see those the star card is number 17. So that's like Aquarius energy. So like I said, Uranus direct is anything could happen suddenly. Well, that's what the number 23 means. But Uranus retrograde, that's like somebody who's normally quiet, all of a sudden they talking and talking, talking. And somebody who's normally quiet, all of a sudden, somebody who's normally talking, 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 all of a sudden they just get quiet. It's like the reverse, but it still kind of comes out of nowhere. Now, the 8th house got Sagittarius in it. But again, like this is like psychic stuff. Because anything with Sagittarius is like a higher, very higher vibration. It's a higher connection. It's even like your higher self, or like the female, the high priestess might be there connected. But it's high intuition, high receptivity. And you can actually connect to like things out of this dimension, like other things. But you can also be real good with philosophy, religion. This is higher laws. This is your in-law. So even though Sagittarius is in the 8th house, it still rules the 9th house, because that's what the 9th house is about. And Neptune is really about escapism. Neptune retrograde is escapism, but Neptune too can also connect to like other things, like astral planning. If you see like a Uranus, Sagittarius, Neptune connection, that could be somebody who can astral plane literally. It's any form of travel, whether out of the body experience or literal travel. And Sagittarius is still long distance, but it's just that it's going to be dealing with the mysteries and things like that. Like, you got philosophy, religion, culture, and all that. But now you're dealing, because it's in the 8th house, now you're dealing with watery emotions, power struggles, mysteries, transformation. And Neptune there is horrible. Neptune retrograde, because Neptune retrograde is like Scorpio. It's going to doubt. So again, that's going to kind of defy. That's going to defy or interfere with any maturity that Sagittarius would try to secure in the 8th house. It's going to go out the window because of Neptune being suspicious and doubting and running and trying to escape. And Scorpio can be the same way. And don't forget, Neptune rules Pisces, so Neptune is real watery too. So it's just too much water for any real stability, and any attempts to get the Sagittarius maturity going, it ain't going to work in that particular house under that particular setting. And then the number 2 is actually the twin flame number 1111, but it's also the angelic number, the number 4. And anybody that knows about the 21 cards of the major arcana, 22 would be like starting all over. Like when you saw 24, that's your return. And that's something to do with Leo or whatever. But now the universe is going to bring you back to that situation to see how you work with it this time. So that's number 24. That's the return. Now number 22 is like going all the way through the 21 cards of the major arcana. And now the fool is starting over again, maybe at a different level at the number 22. So this chart is very interesting. But I think this person just lived many lifetimes, and that's why it's just very, very interesting. But essentially, that energy of Aries, that aggressiveness, moving fast. I'm gonna have my way no matter what. The power struggles, and you know how people just don't want to deal with it. They just do it and move on. And even if you say to the people, "Hey, you're gonna if you don't address this now, you're gonna have to address it in a coming life," and they just don't care. So they just don't care. They just do it anyway. And so that's why I said it's many lifetimes, and then maybe they just kept that Aries energy. They would just kept running, and now in this life, it's like right there in front of them. That, oh no, you got to work on this. You got to work on that. You got to be careful of this. You got to be careful of that. But it's still possible. And like life doesn't have to be oh man, I got to work on all this. I'll never be. That's not the point. The point is just to be aware of it and you know step by step. And because what happens is, like I said, a person, they still may not work on it. But I'm trying to tell you, you should learn a little bit more about mythology and Saturn and the connection to Satan and planet Pluto and the connection to hell, Hades, because that stuff is very real, And it's just that people don't think that it is because they're listening to a liar who's giving you his story. But before he took over everything, he knew what the ancients believed, and he knew what the ancients did. And the only reason why he was successful taking over because it's prophecy. He was allowed to take over, but he was only given 400 years as far as the number 22 is concerned. Because the number 22 is the people of God. That's why I said if you say angelic, 2 plus 2 is 4. So now that time is up. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's about to be a major transformation of power, and people that don't notice or people that are dumbing down and people that are running away from channels like this one, they don't get it. But you can't run away from what's about to happen. And like I said, I try to tell you, it's right on your charts. So how could I be wrong? It's right on your charts. So obviously it's there. If you read it and wake up, you would know that. But some people want to just stay dumbed down and just ask one question. Oh, what about this? What about that? And as far as this chart's concerned, like your love life is directly proportional to your chart. So in order for it to improve, you would have to work on all that stuff we talked about, or what people have. Like I said, some people just go from partner to partner or whatever they're doing because they don't want to work on this. But the ultimate is Pluto or Hades and Saturn or Satan. And if you knew Egyptology, his name was Set, like S-E-T or S-E-T-H. So he's always been around, just got different names. So you got to remember that as well. So that will conclude this read. And again, there's a lot of offers out here. Some are really public, some are just for the weekend. But again, you can always contact me. You always got the email. Any questions you have, if you don't have the most recent price list of services offered. But out here on the channel, it's stuff there publicly you can look at. In the description section below is stuff you can look at, or you can contact direct with the email. It's also in the description box and answer the questions that way. This is Gat. God bless.